Alright, so this is the first video for drawing 1, and we're going to be talking about just some sort of starting basics about what pencils can do and just some big thoughts about drawing. So what I just did is called it probably took too long, but it's called a gesture drawing, and I have a little sculpture of a horse's head in front of me, and I'll do a bunch of drawings of that object with a bunch of different approaches as we go. A gesture drawing is where you just you look at the object and you just quickly map out the basic shapes without being too fussy or trying to be too accurate. You're just trying to get the big shapes basically where they're supposed to be. And with this one, I did that quickly, and then I can just take my time and work the drawing up. And the main kind of drawing we're going to be doing for the beginning of the semester is called a contour drawing, where we're not worried about shadows. We're really just worried about making sure that things are in the right place. And so I'm just going to draw for a minute here. I'm going to take my time. I don't know that I can talk the whole time, so I may just quiet down, but I'll chime back in when I have stuff to say. A contour drawing where there's information like there is in a horse's face. You have to give yourself a little bit of time. It's not like we're going to resolve it that quickly. So we just mapped out where everything is going to go, and then you can get more specific. And what I want to emphasize in this drawing is making sure that it looks reasonably like a horse, but also that I don't just make the same mark everywhere, that I vary the marks that I'm making so that the drawing stays interesting. Because if the line quality is the same throughout the whole drawing, the viewer is going to lose interest very quickly. And as someone who's making a drawing that I want someone to want to look at, the last thing you want to do is lose their interest. All right, so this line here, I'm noticing that the eyeball of the horse lines up with the ear, and we're going to be talking about that too. That's the measuring video is going to go over that in some more detail for you. But just trying to get that eyeball in. And again, I'm not trying to be precious about anything. I'm just trying to figure out what's important. Our horse here has a kind of a vein in the middle of his cheek, and a couple of them coming down this way. And they sort of differentiate the top of the top plane of the snout here compared to the side. Now, one of the things you'll notice is I'm holding the pencil in kind of a weird way. If you're used to holding a pencil the way you would write, well, that's how we're doing it. But when you're drawing, you actually, if you're up at an easel like I am, you want to hold the pencil hold it between these two fingers and then use your pinky to support it. And then be so loose with how you're holding it that you're almost likely to drop it. You don't want to be like gripping it like you're going to break it, which I squeezed it really hard right there. I almost did break it. It's too bad it didn't snap for the camera. That would have been worth recording. Maybe that's what we'll do at the end. But I like this pencil, so maybe not. All right. right, so it's not the best contour drawing anyone's ever made, but it gets the idea across. And a drawing like this that's still kind of loose, you can just continue to work it up all day long. Now, we have a contour drawing. Now, if we wanted to try to just sort of vary the marks up a little bit, you just sort of look around for where there are intersections and try to make a bigger deal out of them. You can work on your intersections. Sometimes I hold it like I'm writing if I need a little bit more precision. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm letting the pencil do the things that pencils are capable of doing. Changing my marks. And usually that just has to do with how heavy they are and how light they are. And you can play around with that for a really long time. So another type of approach that I want you guys to try, and this is, this may end up being a little embarrassing, but it's a type of drawing called a blind contour, where you look at the object and you don't look at your drawing. It's a good way to practice your hand-eye coordination. So I have not warmed up, so I have no idea how I'm going to do. But here I'm going to start on the tip of the ear, and as my eye moves, I'm just going to let my hand move, and hopefully I'll do it here, and we'll hopefully stay on the page. But this will take a minute or two to develop. And the trick is not to cheat. You're not allowed to look. And the funny thing is, everyone's blind contour drawings pretty much look the same. I think I went a little too fast there. All right, so I know I'm in the wrong place because it's been way too long, but I'm going to try to work my way over to that eyeball and get him in the right place. And I haven't looked yet. Still just working my way around. Here's that vein in the side of the face. It's probably too low. All right. That's probably good. Okay, so, yeah, maybe if I warmed up, things would have lined up a little more. But it's a great exercise. It still has the basic shape of the horse. It looks like I just let this part go a little bit too fast, needed to come up here. Otherwise, I didn't really miss that much. And it's a fun exercise. Everyone's blind contour drawings look the same, and it's really just about warming up and having some fun and just developing that hand-eye coordination. So another way to think about drawing really anything, I'm going to keep coming back to this. Like while I'm talking, I think I'm going to work this drawing up while I'm trying to figure out what the next thing is going to be. But another way to work up, we'll do another, we'll do a smaller drawing over here. And I'm really just going to focus on the part of the head here with the eye and the snout. All right, I'm just kind of doing a contour drawing to get the big basics sort of set up, and then I'll show you a slightly different approach. I just want to make sure my contour drawing here is good. If you're wondering, this is a kneaded eraser. The original ones, this is made of rubber, but back in the old days, the erasers were actually made out of bread. And so that's why they call this kneaded rubber, kneaded with a K, like you would knead bread. And it's a pretty good eraser. You can shape it into whatever shape you want, so that you can erase things that are a little bit more specific. You'd think I'd get better at drawing this nose, given the number of times I've drawn it. I made his snout a little bit short. But anyway, I just want to show you something. I want to get to here and then show you. So if there's a whole bunch of different ways to render form. One of the ways to kind of play around with your pencils, since one of the things we don't want to do is like try to shade the dark part of the object in, because it's just for later in the class. One of the ways to help the viewer understand what's going on is to do what's called a cross contour. And once I get this going. Okay, so a cross contour is like, you imagine if the object was striped. And like if you were to draw lines this way, they wouldn't be very descriptive. Lines going this way, if it was striped, would be a lot more descriptive. So if we start with something up here, like on the forehead, we can make a line that describes the form as it moves across. Each line is going to be a little bit different. And this is actually one of the the ways that computers that model three-dimensional form, this is one of the ways that they do it. So this can be really, really detailed. It can get as crazy as you want it to get. But at some point it starts to lose its interest for me. So I get a little bit bored when I do this kind of stuff, but still pretty cool. And usually on the first day of a drawing class, I have students practice everything I'm doing with the horse here. I have the students usually practice it with their hands. So you'd have one hand over here, and you just put it in a position and draw it. You can do that, but for now, since it's an online class and we're not here in person, just do this with whatever subjects that you want. I thought the horse would be good. For this kind of thing. All right, so that line disappears and then comes across his tongue, comes down and around, disappears again, and then wraps around. So things can get pretty detailed here. And like I said, I think I should have made this a little bit longer. But another way to think about one of the bigger ideas in drawing is going to be, running out of room, is to draw the subject as if it's sort of, well, you're emphasizing its major planes. So I'll do it kind of small. But if we just map this guy in, and then imagine that he's kind of like a robot horse, or he's made of like facets or something like that. That might be a good way to think about it. I just need to get a quick contour drawing in so I can see where everything is. Not a bad idea to keep things a little straighter. Might take a little bit longer than the other ones. Alright, so if we're going to try and work up some of the planes, we need some nostrils. Alright, so one of the ideas is that every form has a top and a front and a side. And we start to see that in here, and we definitely start to see it in here, but we can just sort of break things down into little facets. Or maybe we say big facets first, and then work our way into smaller ones as we go. So I'm noticing that the top of this top plane is one big plane going all the way down. And then there's a break right here. Side of the eye. See the front of the mouth, side of the mouth, a little tongue inside there, and the side of the there's a whole bunch of muscles and sort of overlapping structures here, but the idea is that the planes go sort of over and down and over and around. And just drawing these facets in can create a really complex drawing. The longer you spend on it, the more these things will get resolved. And remember, here we're not really looking at shadows and stuff, although a shadow on the object is an indication of a change in plane. But we're just looking at the surface of the object and where it changes, where the surface changes directions. All right, so that's probably enough for now. But so for the first sort of introduction for you guys drawing, just take what we did in this video, give it a try. You can do it with like apples, you can do it with your hands, you can do it with bananas. You can really apply this to anything, and just take your time, get some practice in, and then there'll be some other videos for you to watch after this.